What happens when allies are treated like adversaries? The United States is now experiencing the consequences firsthand. Toyota, Honda, and Nissan brands, responsible for nearly one-third of the cars on American roads, were thrust into turmoil when the Trump administration imposed tariffs on their vehicles. Yet these weren't Chinese-made cars. They were manufactured in North America in locations like Ontario, Baja California, and Aguascalientes. For decades, Japanese automakers have poured billions into U.S. production facilities, sustaining American jobs and integrating into domestic supply chains. Then suddenly they were treated as threats. Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba attempted to negotiate, but talks quickly reached a dead end. Tokyo chose not to wait. Japanese carmakers began discreetly pulling back U.S. production, reducing their focus on the American market and shifting operations outside of North America. This wasn't just corporate repositioning. It fractured trust. To Japan, this wasn't a mere diplomatic stumble. It was a warning. And Japan responded decisively to safeguard its interests. The bigger question, does the U.S. even realize what it's set in motion? Before we get deeper, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. Toyota, Honda, and Nissan are more than well-known names in the U.S. They are central pillars of the American automotive landscape. In 2024, these companies accounted for 1 out of every 3 cars driving on U.S. roads. Toyota secured the top sales position, Honda followed at number 3, and Nissan ranked 6th. Here's what's surprising. The vast majority of these vehicles weren't imports. They were built in North America by American workers, using local components and sustaining regional economies. In 2024 alone, these brands collectively sold nearly 5.9 million vehicles in the U.S., a 6.3% increase over the previous year, underscoring their expansive reach. In 2023, Japanese automakers produced more than 3.2 million vehicles within the United States, nearly one-third of total U.S. car output. Their footprint spans across 27 states, encompassing 29 major production plants, 34 R&D centers, and hundreds of distribution facilities. They directly employ over 400,000 Americans. These companies are more than just foreign investments. They are embedded in the very fabric of American communities and industries. Japanese automakers have become economic bedrocks for the regions they serve. But just how deep does their influence run? The numbers are remarkable. When including indirect employment from suppliers to dealerships and service networks, Japanese automakers support more than 2.29 million jobs across the United States. According to Dr. Thomas Prusa from Rutgers University, they rank among the most significant contributors to the U.S. private sector, particularly in manufacturing-heavy states. And their momentum hasn't slowed. These companies are doubling down on America's automotive future. Take Toyota as an example. It is investing $13.9 billion into a massive battery production facility in Greensboro, North Carolina. This plant is expected to employ over 5,000 people, producing electric and hybrid vehicle batteries to meet rising demands for greener transportation. Honda and Nissan are following suit, forming strategic partnerships and investing in advanced technology to expand their electric vehicle offerings amid a rapidly evolving industry. The decisions these companies make now will shape the U.S. economy, job market, and technological landscape for decades. The future of American automobiles isn't unfolding in Tokyo. It's being built in Tennessee, Ohio, Alabama, and other U.S. states. But here's the twist. These aren't trade loopholes. They are integral parts of a North American supply chain built to create and sustain U.S. jobs. Yet with the stroke of a pen, Washington classified these trusted partners alongside trade abusers, sending shockwaves through the industry. And to justify the move domestically, U.S. officials wrapped the policy in patriotic rhetoric, labeling it economic self-defense. Protect American jobs, level the playing field, reshore manufacturing. It's a compelling narrative, but ultimately misguided. The targeted vehicles aren't budget imports sabotaging Detroit. They are crafted by Americans, for Americans, using regional materials. Picture Toyota trucks from Baja California, Honda sedans out of Ontario, and Nissan SUVs made in Aguascalientes. These cars emerged from an ecosystem shaped by NAFTA and carried forward under the USMCA. By imposing tariffs, Washington disrupted carefully coordinated regional cooperation. Worse still, it sent a stark message to allies. Even long-standing loyalty offers no immunity when domestic politics take precedence. Japan didn't answer with outcry or retaliation. It responded with strategy and speed. Just days after the 25% tariff was imposed on imported vehicles, Japanese automakers began adjusting their operations. Consider Nissan. Its best-selling model in the U.S., the Rogue, moved 245,000 units in 2024. But many were manufactured in Japan, making them tariff targets. In response, Nissan reduced production by 13,000 units at its Kyushu facility within just 3 months, reallocating resources to less vulnerable regions. Toyota leveraged its global infrastructure, ramping up production in Thailand to bypass tariff obstacles. The shift seemed seamless because it had been anticipated. Stephanie Brinley of S&P Global estimates Japanese auto output may decrease by up to 20,000 vehicles per day. But this isn't panic, it's calculated action. Since tensions began in 2018, Japan's carmakers have been fortifying supply chains, preparing for a world where geopolitical certainty can't be assumed.
When U.S. tariffs struck, Japan didn't panic. It pivoted. Rather than retaliate, Tokyo followed a calculated, pre-set strategy. It began quietly pulling back from the U.S. market and redirecting its industrial focus toward Southeast Asia countries like Thailand, Vietnam, and Indonesia are no longer just contingency plans. They're becoming central pillars of Japan's manufacturing strategy. These nations offer more than just lower production costs. They provide political stability, strategic flexibility, and growing consumer markets, all essential for weathering uncertainty from Washington. Japan is not just adapting to change, it's reshaping the future of its auto industry. In Thailand's Eastern Economic Corridor, billions in Japanese investment arrived almost overnight. Mazda invested $150 million in a new EV production line targeting 100,000 units annually. Toyota didn't just spread risk, it scaled up. The company expanded its electric vehicle lineup to 15 models, distributing production across 5 countries to reduce exposure to any one market. But Toyota's boldest move came in China, where it invested $2 billion to build a fully owned EV plant in Shanghai. That facility, backed by the local government, is now central to Toyota's ambitions in the world's largest car market. This is more than a supply chain shift. It's a reinvention of Japan's industrial vision. Faced with erratic U.S. trade decisions, Japan chose not to gamble. It chose to evolve. The ripple effects are profound, not just for U.S.-Japan relations, but for America's place in the global economy.